This is Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate, the podcast where we cover home buying, home selling, home improvement tips and ideas, market trends and developments, and investing in real estate. If you own real estate in the Chattanooga, Tennessee area, or want to own real estate here, then you're in the right place. Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate is hosted by Blake Watson, a real estate agent and investor in Tennessee and Georgia.
Welcome to Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate. I'm Blake Watson with Epique Realty, and today my guest is Bruce Dodd, the one and only with ChattMortgage here in Chattanooga.
How are you?
I'm doing great. You actually called me the other day with some information about gifts, and
Sure.
It occurred to me, I talk with so many people that are considering buying, maybe they're first-time home buyers, and I tell them about these programs that you have available, and I know other lenders have them too, but you certainly have them available. Down payment assistance programs, even some preferred mortgage rate programs.
Sure.
And then this idea of gifts.
Yeah, so the thing is when you're buying your first house, it can be, if you spend too much time online, can be a little overwhelming, and typically my recommendation is you just want to talk to a local lender as quickly as you can about your specific situation to see what makes sense for you. One of the impediments for a lot of people buying their first house is cash, because if you think about it, most of the time when somebody's making a giant down payment on a house, it ain't coming from their piggy bank. It's coming from the sale of another piece of property.
Right.
So for people, it's important to get into real estate as quickly as you can. And there's misconceptions about how much money you have to have down. People think you need to have 20% to put down. You don't. And there's a multitude of programs. So you can put down as little as zero.
Okay.
You can, in some cases. There are programs in our area. Tennessee, I think, has one of the best first-time homebuyer programs in the country. I've done loans all over the country, and I think Tennessee is really blessed with the Tennessee Housing Development Authority has a couple different very awesome programs. Georgia has a good program. It's not quite as good as Tennessee's. It's just not. It's just not.
Hey, that's good. That's a good tip for Tennessee.
It's just not. But they do have a program that some people can utilize. So with the thing one always has to consider is anything in life, when you get a benefit, well, there's usually a requirement.
Right.
There's usually a requirement. So in some cases, for a person, and this really needs to be, you just need to get in front of a lender, give me a call or give a local lender a call and see exactly how it fits in your situation. But in some cases, if you're doing a first-time homebuyer program, they're going to give you some money for down payment. Well, you're not making a down payment. And so you would expect there's going to be some other requirements on you. And sometimes you can borrow a little less as a percentage of your income as you could if you were making a down payment.
Okay.
Just makes sense. So typically, a person can get into a house with their own down payment money of between 3 and 5%.
Wow.
Is about all you have to have. Now, for people that say, well, that's tough for me, in Tennessee, they got the Tennessee Housing Development Authority. They'll give you essentially 5% of the sales price to use either for down payment and closing costs. If you've got your own money, sometimes you can use it to pay closing costs, all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
So that's a great program. They don't just give it to you. You got to pay it back. But it's great terms, so it can be a simple, easy way to do it. Georgia has a program called the Georgia Dream, where they'll give you some money as well. In some cases, you don't even have to pay that back. So I would tell somebody, if you want to buy a house and you're concerned you don't have enough money, what you need is information specific to you. So if somebody wants to give me a call or you give a local lender a call, typically there's, it's not like You got to pay me money to talk to me. And just because we discuss something doesn't mean you have to do it tomorrow.
Yeah, right,
but it's a data point. But I would just discourage people, because these days everybody wants to ask ChatGPT, all this stuff.
Yeah, right.
And next thing you know, you're getting your head spun around with all kinds of different options.
Right. That's a very good point. There's so much out there, and if we just do our investigating online, that's going to be confusing as much as anything.
Yeah.
And maybe misleading in some cases.
Well, because there's always different caveats. And so you really just need to see what applies for your specific situation. But what I would tell somebody, the message from this is it's important to buy real estate. It's kind of the foundation of gathering wealth in the United States.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
If you look at properties in the Chattanooga area from the year 2000 to 2020, they went up by about 4% a year. So that says if you're buying a $250,000 house, it's going up by about $10,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
The average person lives in their first house between 5 and 7 years. So let's say you're right in the middle, 6 years. That means in 6 years' time, even a house at $250 is going to be worth like $60,000 more than you paid for it.
Wow. Yeah. That's the power of the compounding of just having appreciation on your property, isn't it?
Absolutely. And plus you're going to be paying a little bit down on your loan. So you'll have, so the message I would tell folks, if you can't buy what you want to buy today, let's buy what we can buy. Let's let that build for us, because the reality is this, is if you're paying for real estate, if you're paying rent, you're paying a mortgage. Mm-hmm. It's just somebody else's.
Yeah, right. And you're already making the payment. Might as well start making it for your own property.
Somebody else is getting that appreciation. If you look, Americans in the United States, 2/3 of wealth in the United States of America is tied up in home equity.
Okay, which means ownership.
Yeah, it's the difference between what you owe and what your property is worth.
Yeah.
And so that's 2/3 of wealth in the United States. So
you're saying it's not all crypto or stock market?
No, it's not. It's not.
2/3 is in equity.
That's right. And so if you think about it, if you're paying for real estate and you don't own it, then you need to look to see how quickly can I own it.
Mm-hmm.
Your credit doesn't have to be perfect.
Okay.
Even for the first-time homebuyer programs where you're not making a down payment, your credit score can be as low as a 640.
Gotcha.
So the median credit score in the state of Tennessee is 708.
Okay.
So you can be way below average and still buy a house.
And perhaps with not much money in your pocket.
That's right.
One thing that we also want to cover today is gift money.
Sure.
And I know especially with maybe a young person trying to buy a house, maybe not even a young person, but just someone trying to buy a house, perhaps for the first time, they don't have that equity.
Sure.
Somebody wants to help them out. How does that work?
I have this conversation with somebody every day of my life.
Okay.
Every day. Every single day. I'll have somebody who is in a great situation. Mom and dad want to help them out. Aunt or uncle, grandma, grandpa are willing to help somebody buy a house. And so what I would tell folks is if you have access to gift money, anything you do in a mortgage has to be verified.
Okay.
So if Meemaw wants to give you $10,000 put down on a house, there's a great way to do it that makes it super easy for everybody. And there's a way where next thing you know, we're having to get Meemaw's bank statements, and she's not going to want to do that because she ain't borrowing money.
Oh, yeah.
And
so you end up getting her tangled up in this.
Yeah. So the easiest way to do it is Meemaw will just send the money to closing, and we get a letter on the front end just saying she's willing to do it. But just don't let her give you the money up front.
Okay.
Because then, once again, anything with a mortgage, you have to document it. And the hardest thing to document is greenbacks, is cash. Because you can't show it really came from your grandparents.
I get that, unless you went and documented and you're not going to do that. You're not going to go back and ask.
You can't document cash.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't, even if we have photos of grandma taking it out of the bank and she's on a body cam all the way over, and then we have a picture of you, that still won't work.
That doesn't do it.
No, it won't work.
It has to be.
It's crazy. It's kind of crazy because it seems like cash on the barrelhead would be the desired way to get money.
Yeah.
But it's not in a mortgage.
It's not in a mortgage.
So don't shoot the messenger. I just know how the game's played.
Hey, and that's key right there, Bruce, is you know how the game is played.
Yeah.
And that's why someone should call you.
Absolutely.
Get in touch with you early in the process.
Absolutely. So the whole thing is information is power. Mm-hmm. Lack of information is stress. And so people often get just stressed out about the prospects of buying a house. But, it's the American dream. It's the foundation to wealth. And the best way to approach it is just make sure you're informed and have the information.
So that's what we want to talk to you about and contact you. And I encourage anybody that's listening to certainly call you about it.
Yeah. So we're happy to sit down and meet with you and talk about it. If you're a super busy person, as a lot of people are, we can do it over the phone. We can do it by Zoom. It's a little tough to do it by carrier pigeon. I'd be willing to, but I'm not sure we can pull it off.
Have you ever done a loan by smoke signals?
The problem is the mountains around here and the wind. And so if you're going to do smoke signals, it's a lot of coordination. It's just easier to get together.
It's just get together or a phone call. And I think that's important because a lot of people think, oh, this is going to be like, and it can be pretty complicated, like buying a car or something like that. But it can be handled over the phone and through email and things like that.
But I would tell people that 2/3 of wealth is been generated in the United States by equity in real estate. Mm-hmm. It's the biggest thing most people ever buy. This is not one of those transactions where it makes sense to go to 1-800, maybe we'll do your loan someday.com or some internet lender that's in Kansas that you think that, but they sound suspiciously like maybe they're someplace else in the world.
That's right.
Because what happens is so many people I see, it makes sense. You see an ad on TV, so you go online and they say, hey, just put in some information here and we're going to kick out an approval. Well, those work sometimes. Sometimes for people it does, but sometimes it doesn't. Mm-hmm. And you think you're in one place, you're at someplace else. I had a client who we're going to close their loan next week. The last time they bought a house, they were using one of the internet companies. They found out the day before closing that they weren't buying a house. Their loan had gotten turned down.
Oh, wow.
And there's just too many stories like that. And so there's wonderful lenders right here in the city of Chattanooga. Mm-hmm. I would love for people to come see us, but if you're not going to come see me, then go see somebody that you can sit across. Because here's the thing. If you're buying something as significant as real estate, you want some accountability from the person who's the primary person in that transaction your first time in terms of how successful it's going to be. Your realtor is the quarterback, but everybody's got to block and tackle. And so that's what you need the lender to do.
It's a team for sure.
And so often people think a transaction's going to go one way and it doesn't when they've done things online. And that person online or if you're talking to some 1-800 number someplace, they don't have to see you in the grocery store. Mm. They're not going to run into you at the ball field. They're not going to see you at church. They're not going to see you at a Mocs game. I might. And I'm only 5'10", and so I have to make sure that I take care of people because I'm not that big. And so it's just a different level of accountability when you can drive to somebody's office because you ain't driving to Kansas.
Right.
You're not going to drive to Michigan. One of the biggest companies is everybody's in Detroit. Well, you ain't going to go there. They're never going to see you. They don't care. They're just trying to get paid. Somebody like me or another local lender, the only way I grow my business is by people saying nice stuff about me. Mm-hmm. That's it. And so that's super important to us.
Well, very good. So, Bruce, if someone does want to contact you, they're thinking, hey, I don't have money, but I sure do. I am tired of paying rent, and I'd like to buy. How would they reach you?
Just give us a call,
this?
423-591-9801. I've had the same phone number since 2009. And so we're just happy to have a conversation. And so, I talk to all kinds of people that we end up doing business years from now, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And so let's just have the conversation because you need the information. It's important. And if you live in the United States of America, you need to own a piece of it.
Yeah. Well said. And thank you so much for coming and being on the show today.
My pleasure.
Is there a website we should look for?
ChatMortgage.com.
Perfect.
ChatMortgage.com. Pretty easy to find.
Very good. And you can also contact me, Blake Watson. I'm an agent with Epique Realty in Tennessee and Georgia. You can reach me on my mobile phone at 423-315-1815. My brokerage is 888-893-3537. You can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn as Blake Watson, on Instagram as Rock and Roll Blake, and my website is athomechattanooga.com. And be sure to follow this podcast, share it with a family member or a friend, especially if you know someone that is thinking about a first-time purchase of their home.
Absolutely.
And we wish you the best in your real estate journey.